This is Sarah Cacicio from Digital Promise, and we're really excited to present on this topic. Just to give you a brief, overview, Digital Promise, we're a nonprofit organization with a mission to really spur innovation and education. We're always working, at the intersection of educators, researchers, and developers to figure out how we can support and promote equity in education and expand access to lifelong learning. And I will pass it over to my colleague who's going to share about our project on adult learner variability.
Thanks, Sarah. So what is learner variability? It is the recognition that all learners differ. Learning sciences research can guide us in understanding how these differences matter for learning. It is not learning styles. Those have not been supported by research, but there are a host of factors that we know do impact learning and that embrace both learner struggles and strengths and consider the whole person. And this will become clearer as I explain more. So the Learner Variability Navigator is a whole person framework. We have quite a bit of content for K through 12. We call that whole child, but as children grow, all those factors are still relevant for learning. So thinking about their content knowledge, their cognition, social emotional learning, and then student background. As we were beginning the work on the adult learner model, we were looking to synthesize research that's been conducted across adult populations. So thinking about basic education, literacy, English language learners, higher ed, and in the attempt to represent the whole learner in our factors and strategies, provide nuance for how those factors cross connect with each other, given adults' complex learning and personal histories, and then provide actionable strategies across learning contexts. So classroom, online, self-study. And we want this research to be accessible for people in continuing in adult ed, ESL teachers, career and technical trainers, ed tech designers. So that's the framework that we're using as we looked at the adult learner research. As we started going through the research, we saw a number of factors, again, across all of these categories that really start to help you understand what is your own learner variability. So this is just a graphic to get people thinking, do you have a good sense of how well you understand something that you've read or learned? That's metacognition. Do you feel comfortable using the computer or navigating the internet? That's digital literacy. Do you get 7 to 9 quality hours of sleep on a regular basis? Sleep is so critical for learning, emotion. It's really, there's so much research to support how critical it is. Do you set goals and create a plan for yourself in learning? That's meta motivation and self-regulation. So all of these different factors interact to impact how people learn throughout the lifespan. So again, as we were synthesizing the research, three main themes kind of emerged. So I'm going to just talk about those three themes, and then I'm going to show you our free and open source website called the Learner Variability Navigator, where our model lives, and that we can add links in the chat and so everybody can access it. On these slides, you'll notice that there are a few capitalized words that are bolded in blue. Those are what we call factors, and there's a lot more information about those on our site, each one defining it and showing how it's connected. And then there's the lowercase blue terms, and those are our research-based strategies. Again, there's a lot more information about those on our site with resources as well. So we know from the research that adults need a variety of 21st century foundational skills to survive and thrive. And those include digital literacy, oral communication skills, and others that are critical to pursuing opportunities in the workforce and everyday life. We also know that strategies like collaborative strategies, peer feedback, and others can strengthen learners' content knowledge as well as interpersonal skills. So we're trying to weave together the research on the factors that impact learning and how you can support them. Problem-solving skills are another critical set of skills. They encompass critical thinking and creativity. They allow adults to evaluate evidence and generate novel solutions. And building those problem-solving skills, one strategy is having learners use new technology and create multimedia projects themselves to build confidence in those skills. We all know that adults must see the benefit of learning tasks to fully engage. So they're independent learners who have complex reasons for setting and persisting at goals. To maintain that motivation, addressing authentic scenarios is critical, helping them see how the information can be used in the real world. Adults also bring many assets to their learning, including extensive background knowledge, sometimes called funds of knowledge, that they may not realize and recognize the value of that knowledge. So incorporating learners' lived experiences and cultural practices can build that learner mindset and acknowledge that knowledge. And finally, we also found this quite a bit in the research, engaging in lifelong learning activities is interconnected with general well-being. So in emotion, cognitive, physical well-being domains, having greater well-being can positively impact learning. And then in turn, engaging in learning impacts life satisfaction and outcomes such as income and social capital. So to that end, we have strategies in our model and the research behind them for reducing stress, mindfulness, physical activity, showing how it can improve attention and reduce cognitive decline. And we also, again, as we're thinking about the whole person, recognize that adults can face barriers to learning stemming from their socioeconomic status, lack of social supports, or adverse experiences such as negative past experiences with schooling due to racism or other systemic barriers. Again, building self-advocacy and metacognitive skills can allow learners to understand their own learning process and what they need to succeed. So this is our link to the Learner Variability Navigator. So I'm going to hop over to our site. Hopefully everybody can still see the screen. And this is the landing page for our Learner Variability Navigator. And Sarah can put the link in the chat, and we'll provide all of these as well. So again, I'm going to do a quick tour today. So I just want to point out some things if you want to go back and watch. There's a video tour that can go through more slowly how to access all of this material. As I mentioned, we have quite a bit of K through 12 work as well, and then the adult learner model that I'll show today. We have a couple of tools meant for practitioners that help kind of guide you through the model if you want to, select a few factors and have strategies come up that are relevant. That kind of gives a walkthrough version. And then we have some background information as well. So I'll go to our adult learner homepage. These are the themes that I just walked through. So they have the links to the factors and strategies that I mentioned. But I want to jump into the factors right away since we don't have a lot of time. So this is the map where we've fleshed out those 4 major categories. So you can see adult literacies, not just reading and writing, but also numeracy, digital literacy, problem solving skills, and these factor pages will give you definitions, references for research. Cognition, we describe cognition over the lifespan, so not just how it impacts learning at one time, but how it also changes. Social emotional learning, critical for all of these pieces. Also, learner mindset includes things like self-efficacy and self-concept. And then background is in thinking about personal experiences, and resources that a person might have. So not only does the site give kind of definitions for those factors, but we actually also show where research has found connections across the model. And that's where we start to build understanding of this whole person ideas, that all of these factors are not working in isolation, they're impacting each other. So having experienced trauma or adverse experiences, that relates to many other factors that you see here. Similarly with emotion, it interacts with a lot of different factors, attention, etc. So I'll go into one. I'll show you digital literacy. You'll see it has a lot of research connecting it across the many factors. And the main page is, about half a page to a page, giving some of the definitions and explanations for what's included in digital literacy. We have references for all of that information as well. And then this little wheel here gives you a little bit more information about what those connections are. So I said digital literacy is connected to emotion, but what does that mean? So we've found research showing that prior negative experiences with technology can contribute to adult learners' anxiety when using computers. Social supports. Adults with low digital literacy abilities may benefit from social support communities when using the internet. And there can be positive connections and also sometimes negative. So the use of multiple digital technologies contributes to diminished attention in adults. So that is a little bit more. If you scroll down, we also have a bank of research-based strategies that support digital literacy. We also have them on this page where you can just kind of browse all of the strategies add them to a workspace, or filter them down based on, the factors that you're interested in addressing. And finally, I'm just going to show a workspace that we created that aligns the work of our Navigator resource, as well as what Jamie is going to present next on digital substitution. So this is just taking strategies that already exist in our model, but kind of putting them together in what we call a workspace. So there's 9 of them here. And I want to go into one of the strategies and just kind of show what the resources are there. So annotating, I know that Jamie's going to be talking about doing this with her students. We explain a little bit more about what we mean by annotating, what the research shows or talks about. Again, we have the references for those, and then we have resources here that describe, a tool or examples of how you can do this, and then other related resources down here as well.